Welcome to Linux Saloon, April 2nd. It is 8:10 p.m. We're on our second attempt, and hopefully this one goes through. How is everybody tonight?
Okay, if you were on my
Doing
street, you'd
great.
be on time.
Excellent.
Good, good. Glad to hear it. All right. Well, tonight we're planning on doing a open mic night, which just basically means that we're going to have folks bring up whatever it is that they're interested in talking about. And but first, before we get started, we, as always, want to remind folks that the purpose of the Saloon chat is that we have a talk about Linux and all things related to Linux, but we do it in a way that is respectful and free of negativity to just outright hostility and negativity. You're obviously welcome to have your own opinion, and we welcome you and ask that you voice it. But again, let's try to keep it positive. We're all here because we want to be here, because we enjoy being here. So let's keep it light and friendly and fun. So, Steve.
Sure.
What have you got going on this week? Anything interesting happening?
Well, actually, I was spending some time this week. I actually got my stream set up early, and so I spent some time playing with my Peppermint installation on my desktop and doing my own type of theming and that, and kind of really looking at why Debian is difficult for me. I'm in a stage where I want things to be relatively simple and easy, and that's why Pop works for me really well. Everything works out of the box. I was trying to set up certain things, and it's not all Pep's fault. I think it obviously has to do with Debian. So like the OBS Snap works perfectly in pretty much every other distribution that a Snap works on. It won't come up in Peppermint. And I did install my NVIDIA drivers. I got the 510 on there. It's telling me that I should update my drivers. So going with the dev package, it would be bringing me in like OBS 26, which is a good version behind and lacking a lot of the upgrades that it's what 27.1.3 now has. And then the Flatpak, which has a lot of the goodies, and I'm able to add all the plugins that I had gotten from Martin Wimpress's setup. And then the Flatpak, except because of the way Flatpaks work, NDI doesn't work, and I use NDI pretty heavily when I'm doing my stream. So like right off the bat, I'm just struggling. And like I said, it's part Debian, it's part these other issues. Wanted to install Conky Manager, and it wasn't simple. I actually had to take I found a link from a post from one of the MX developers who had their versions of the updated Conky, because I don't think the Conky Manager has been updated in the last few years. So they got it working. So I went with their package, and I actually went and took some of their themes out of MX21 to put it on Peppermint and that, because I like a desktop clock. Because I found out on my laptop, Variety, which the wallpaper changer I like to use, doesn't work really well.
Oh wow!
So it flickers across the screen. Now I don't know if that's because that particular laptop. I didn't try it on my desktop because I got the dual monitors and I got a nice wide. I posted it on the Telegram group a week ago. Nice wide dark night version of Chicago up there.
Oh, nice.
And that, so it's been a little bit of a trial, and it's like I'm just in a mode where I want things to work.
Yeah.
And I mean, at least I learned this week. I still didn't lose the little bit of learning I did with when I learned about Conky scripting, and that I was able to kind of change some of the MX branding that they put in theirs and that on Peppermint.
Yeah, you did a lot of that a couple of years ago. I remember you were doing a lot of that scripting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's great to learn that, but it's like, I either have time to like prepare for this and then prepare for my stream. And I don't want to be constantly working on something to get it right. So that's
got it.
Long story short, that's what I've been doing this week. So,
okay. Well, that's good. Sounds like you're, it's always nice that you reinforce or that you remember something that you've learned, and you're like, oh, I actually, like you said, I actually did retain that. So many things, like you dig into a problem, you spend all this time working on it, and you fix the problem, and then if you're lucky, you don't have the problem again. But that also means that unless you wrote it down, I've started taking notes. Anything, no matter how silly it seems, I'll just grab a note of it and then stick it in. I'm using Joplin, which is you kind of self-host the notes, but you can use it on your different devices. So I've got Joplin as my dumping grounds for all of my stuff, and they're markdown formatted notes. And anytime I fix a problem, no matter how small it is, I just jot down what I did, how I did it. And it's amazing how often I have to refer back to that, but how glad I am that I've done that, because otherwise it's like you're starting all over again.
Yeah, I should do something like that, because I also was playing around with learning how to customize Light DM and changing that format there, like to your sign on and that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Anyone else? How about Colin? Did you? I didn't see. Did you have a video this week or?
Oh, no, I was working on one this morning.
Okay.
Haven't finished. It's just app image and app image pull, app image launcher, which we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. Just making a video about that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I actually looked in app image pull last week for something, and I don't know. It's a little odd because sometimes things don't load. I guess they're counting on certain things like images to be in a certain format or size or something. So sometimes I don't know. It's not like a perfectly seamless
No
experience.
App images are still a bit fragmented, because I think that not everything that's in the app image hub is in app image pool. And I think it could be vice versa. And I think you'll find that there's some app images on websites, on GitHub pages, that probably aren't in the app image pool.
Got it.
So it's a good step. It's a good stepping stone, I think, for app images. It might take a while to populate and people to jump on board with this, but I can just see that it's going to make things a lot easier with app images in the future. So hopefully, the ball gets rolling and people jump on with it.
Well, it's apparently, a very big problem for different projects is discoverability. How do you get out there and get people aware that something exists? There's so many different projects on the different, GitHubs and GitLabs and stuff like that. And it's amazing when I stumble across something that's a really high quality piece of software and you think, I've never heard of this, how is that possible? And yeah, so discoverability is a big deal. I knew when I was making videos more frequently, that was something I enjoyed doing, was find some app that was just like solved a problem so perfectly and then make a video about it and, try to get the word out there for people to use things. So
yeah, they actually complement each other, the app image pool and the app image launcher, because the launcher, not only do you not have to go and set the permissions and right click properties and so forth, the app image launcher just integrates it. You can run once without integrating it, or you can run and integrate it. So that daemon runs in the background. And if you're launching from app image pool, app image launcher still works. And then you can choose a path for all those files, regardless where they are, to be placed into a particular folder that you choose once it runs, and everything's in the one folder. So that, I really like that. It just keeps everything sort of nice and central, and where everything is. So I like that.
yeah, it is amazing that it's nice how it seems so simple, right? Just everything that's a that's a program just becomes a file in a folder somewhere, right? And you just
yeah,
if you don't want it anymore, I've actually noticed that Cinnamon doesn't integrate very well with App Image Launcher. You can't right click on a launcher, and the menu to remove from system that you get on like GNOME or on Plasma it doesn't show up in Cinnamon. So I don't know if that's if it's something that Cinnamon would have to add for that to happen. I'm not sure why that might be, but I've just noticed that I'm using App Image Launcher and I can use it to install and it's quote unquote install the app image. But then when I want to remove something, like when let's say there's a new version of Joplin that comes out, and I'm using the app image, and I want to switch to using the new one and get rid of the old one. And on GNOME and on Plasma, you just go to the menu, right click it, and say remove from system. In Cinnamon, that there is no, when you right click, it only gives you like add to desktop, add to panel, or
Right.
yeah. So it just doesn't have that option there. And I don't know if that's something that I can add. So anyway, I just need to run it down and figure it out. But it's just,
yeah, that's an interesting one because there's a new app image pool that just come out. It's went from 499 to 5. So I was running Peppermint in a VirtualBox, already had it in the menu. Then I did the app image pool 5, but the app image pool 499 was still in the menu. But I opened up Menu Libre, but that didn't give me the option to remove it. But right clicking in XFCE gives you the option of hiding it.
oh,
So that
okay.
Right. So that was I didn't even know that. It just I just found that by fluke. But yeah, that was handy. So you're saying Cinnamon doesn't have that option at all, which is interesting.
But it's funny, Cinnamon does have a built-in menu editor, which is really nice. So you're able to customize the menu. You know, there are tools to do that on, and I guess, does Plasma have a built-in? Yeah, I think maybe Plasma has a built-in menu editor. Has built-in everything else.
Yeah.
How would they have overlooked that? You know? Anyway, all right, great. Anybody else to kick off the show? Anything you want to jump in on and just announce or talk about?
Yeah, I've been working on a server lately and finally got it all cooking, so that's great. After I do this over, install things like first I had to learn how to install MPD on it, music player Damien. That was a learning experience altogether. I got it working.
Which distro did you choose for your server?
Debian.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's my mom's old 3100 Dell Dimension.
Gotcha.
And I inherited, and it's got like 500 megabytes of memory, and the server uses about 60 megabytes of it. So
there you go. Yeah.
So
it's amazing. The underlying Linux system itself uses so little memory compared to the desktop environments and all the other stuff. So yeah, even an old modest system, it can power.
Yeah, I've got it's now currently headless. I plucked the head off of it, so to speak. And and also I have, I don't know, me and Samba don't like each other too well, I guess. And I tried, next thing I tried to install that, and then I had all these issues and problems. I went through like 3 or 4 different, including the Samba wiki instructions on how to do it. And I did it like 3 or 4 times, and I never could get it to work right. Then last night I found out from the Sleepy Eye Vince that that he said that you needed, now I've got the documentation here. I can show you in the wiki, Samba wiki. It uses a certain demo. It uses demo. Uses it both for the folder that you're going to, as well as the
I'm not sure.
Can't remember what you call it anyway. So it had that in both places, so I couldn't figure. So I used demo. So I used my folder as I was trying to access my folder, but I used my folder.
Gotcha.
In the deal.
Yeah.
Instead of the other thing.
Well, that's definitely, Samba can definitely be one of those ones that can be. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I've had my issues with it. That's for sure. It's when you get it set up and working, it's great. And a Linux box actually serves Samba better, in my experience, than Windows did. At least back when I was doing that kind of stuff. My longest running server I ever had, I had a Debian file server that ran for about 8 years. Never really did much to it. It just sort of ran and did its thing, and it had a RAID array, and never had any problems with it. Had all sorts of backup systems running off of it, and file servers, and different protocols. And once you take the time to go through all that and learn how to set it up and get it set up right, then you just sort of leave it alone. And like you said, it's headless. It's in a closet somewhere, and that's what it's good for.
Experience for the week. I was glad last time when I finally got it. Yay!
It is an accomplishment. Yeah.
Yes. So now I've got my slideshow playing on my TV out there. It's connected to the Lenovo computer that they pull in from the server and stuff like that. So that's good. That's
nice. Excellent. Yeah. Servers, personal servers, home servers. I know a lot of people don't have experience with them, but it is something it's worth. I think it's worth learning how to do stuff. And actually, Adam's been doing a lot with containers lately, and he actually spent many hours over the last few weeks watching videos and learning how to do different things with Kubernetes and other containerization stuff. So
these are all lies, by the way. He knows nothing. No, I was kidding.
I set up a Plex server just to serve up some stuff, and his first question to me was, "Well, did you do it in Docker?" I was like, "Oh no, it didn't even occur to me." So I guess it's that when you learn something new, you're like, "Well, that just makes this easier, and I think I'll do that way." And anyway.
Yeah.
So
I see some systems out there. Oh, that's easy stuff.
Well, containers, you look at the sort of evolution of technology, especially in the enterprise, and virtualization was a huge one, because then you could use put multiple OSs on the same hardware. And then I think containerization is obviously one of those, cloud, all that sort of stuff, but containerization is definitely a huge one, especially from a DevOps, SysOps perspective. And yeah, but I've told him, like, I stopped being in IT just before that happened. So like, I haven't had a reason to learn Docker. I've used it a little bit when I was hosting some of the discourse forums are all, you get those, or that's how they run is in Docker containers. And so you have no choice but to learn how to do some of it. But it was all very much like copy paste and like just kind of hoping, where's the closest piece of wood I can knock on, that kind of thing. It was not done well, I guess is the way I should say it.
You get into containers and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's just a different mindset. You have to kind of think about things being modular, and like how you have to open up pathways for things. And it is neat once you figure it out, because then you just, like Adam said, like he has it set up, and so he just passed me his YAML file, which has the composer file, which has all of the pieces, and you just basically change the parts that you need and spin it up, and there you go.
NixOS, not NixOS, but Nix Program Manager is containerized in the sandbox. I don't know if that's different or what.
Oh yeah, that's right. Adam was messing around with Nix as well, and he said that he saw that you were trying it as well. And
yeah, I did on my show last audio corrected at the beginning. I did the packing. I put everybody to sleep, I think, by the end, and nobody say anything.
Yeah, it's a different mindset, that's for sure. It's I think Adam was saying that he didn't think it was something that maybe you'd do as a desktop necessarily, but just the idea that you have a manifest. You're basically just saying, like, this is what my system is, and defining that ahead of time. So
I guess the best thing for a desktop situation in that case would be that when you run it, do updates, you don't have to worry about your power going out and killing your whole system.
Yeah.
If it corrupts your files, then you have to reinstall your system or your OS or whatever. Whereas that, it just points to, when it finishes, then it points to the links to new parts of it. So it happens like that. There's very little time for it to get corrupted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Save it. I suppose it could get corrupted if it was in the middle of doing that link change and then it cut out or something. Even then, everything's already there. So.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, I'll throw out there that my week was, I'd been looking at different distros and watching GNOME 42 and thinking, am I going to go back? Because I've been on Mint and on Cinnamon, and I really like Cinnamon. It just suits me well. It's to me, I've always thought Cinnamon is the halfway point between Plasma and GNOME. Like, it has a lot of what I would call like eye candy and usability of GNOME, and then the sort of familiarity and customization that Plasma has, but without being like as sort of detailed oriented or as involved, I guess, as Plasma could be. And so I like Cinnamon. I've been running Cinnamon, but I don't know. There's something about Mint that every now and then I just kind of feel like it is a great distro, and it's the type of distro that I'd be happy giving someone to just, let them use it, and they wouldn't have to, if they didn't care about, the underpinnings and that sort of stuff. But so I thought, okay, I'm gonna give Arch a try, just because it's been a while since I've been on an Arch system, and so I installed it using Endeavor, and now I'm back to remembering why I liked Arch so much, because of the AUR and and the fact that it comes. There's nothing, there's literally no applications. You install Cinnamon, and you get the desktop, the file manager, like 10 different applications to do, the basic system stuff, and then everything else you got to install it yourself. To Steve's point, I think it does. I usually don't like doing it because it ends up being more work than I want to put into doing. It's just so easy to install Mint and have everything you want or everything you need. But I don't know. I went down that path and spent the 4 or 5 hours kind of getting it all set up the way I like, and now I'm back on Arch and enjoying it again. So we'll see how long it lasts. I don't know. Tonight is open mic night, and more or less, that's why I gave everybody a chance sort of as we're going around, and but I'm also going to bring up just a couple extra things that I had found in the news. There's a lot of betas coming out right now. There's Ubuntu 22.04 along with all of the different flavors. There is Fedora 36. I believe Pop! OS has a beta, and there may even be more than that I'm not aware of. But so are folks into betas? Do you like testing betas? Do you download them? Do you want to see what's new? Do you ever pitch in and do any kind of testing and feedback, or what do you think of betas?
Well, I'm anxious to check out GNOME 42, and tonight I just downloaded the Ubuntu 22.04 beta. Huge. It's 3.2 gigs download. Well, it's nice downloaded from Ubuntu. It was just a matter of minutes. But
I'm running the 22.04 beta also. I just recently got a new laptop, and I needed the latest kernel for some drivers. So Mint, of course, didn't have the highest kernel I could get. So I tried the beta, and it's actually working pretty well. And I used to kind of routinely download the betas and do a little bit of testing. And I never really had anything to report, but I did quite often test it.
Yeah, that's good. And that's what I do. I'm not like a strict beta tester, but I'll usually download something that I'm interested in. And then as I'm using it, if I happen to run across something, then I try to report back, especially if it's egregious. I mean, it depends on when in the cycle too. So if it's, right at the outset of beta, I figure chances are someone else is going to catch this, and even maybe someone that has, more of a direct line with the team or something like that. So I don't necessarily right away start putting in things, but as the more updates come through, as you're running a beta for a few more days and sort of get those first set of patches, if I still see the same things happening, then I'll jump in. And I've even done some of the unit testing as well, where you download follow down the steps and say, here's the, download the ISO, install, pick this option. If you've done any sort of QA testing, it's very, very structured, very methodical.
I was reading this morning, the Ubuntu Mate beta, their disk got up to 4.1 gig. So they've removed the proprietary NVIDIA drivers from the local apt pool to put it on a diet. So I don't know. I would have thought that's something that they would keep in there as the proprietary NVIDIA drivers, but that's interesting.
I like testing the betas, and usually if I come across like any problems, I try to like write down what the problem is and then insult the project on Twitter about the problem. I mean, isn't that what most users do?
Yeah, well, certainly. Yes, public shaming is definitely a good way to motivate software. Yeah.
It's peer pressure, right?
Yes.
It worked when I was in middle school. It's kind of work now.
I think you're onto something there.
No, but I do like to try out the betas and stuff. I'm not nearly as like in-depth testing as I used to be, but yeah, I like to try them out and see where they're at and kind of get a feel for it. I mean, I know it's not the final product and all that, and you have to take that into consideration, but there can be some pretty neat stuff, especially if you're not living like a bleeding edge distro or something. Like if you just want to like, what's the new hotness, right? And then you could check it out and see like, is there something in this new thing that's worth me preparing for the new release and all that? But that can also be useful. But again, grain of salt, right? It is the beta and there could be issues. And I've certainly been on the business end of some serious issues before.
So the Ubuntu beta and the flavors, it's been like 2 years for most people. Most people are used the LTS versions. So it's going to be a big change for all the changes that happen all this time in these past 2 years.
Adam, you actually, I mean, to sort of demonstrate the importance of people. So okay, let me step back from that. So we know that the software developers themselves are using a certain set of hardware. And particularly, it seems like there's a deficit when it comes to newer hardware. And so one of the areas that can be really helpful in a beta is if people who have, cutting edge hardware, or let's say much newer hardware, use something and then be able to report back. Because I know, Adam, you actually found, in one of the releases where they had inadvertently left something out or made some sort of change.
Yeah, it was one of the Ubuntu releases.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was an NVIDIA driver issue.
Yeah, and so you were able to spot that before, I think before it went out, right?
Like right before the release. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really close.
Yeah. So in by doing that really saved probably a lot of people, from having issues. So so that's sometimes, even if you're not going to do like an in-depth, like, going down a line list of things to test, if you're just going in there and doing the sort of things that you would normally do and providing feedback like that, they can be hugely beneficial. So
then insult them on Twitter.
Yes, exactly. Then make fun of them.
I posted the link to the Ubuntu testers Telegram and YouTube chat.
Okay, so you can go insult them there as well.
Okay. Good. Nice.
Oh, that's real-time insulting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So Fedora, I've heard a lot of people talk about Ubuntu. Is anyone interested in the Fedora release?
I did try the Fedora 36 beta.
Okay. Any thoughts?
It's Fedora. No, no, it's pretty neat. Some of the niceties, like when you go to add the third-party repositories into it, it automatically adds the NVIDIA repository to the. So when you do the first run of Fedora, there's like it's not like Ubuntu where it has like the wizard and then it installs. Like you do the install and then it does the wizard. So then after you do the install and you do the first run wizard, there's an option to enable it's like a button that says enable third-party repositories. If you click that, it will automatically add a specific repository from RPM Fusion with the NVIDIA drivers. So after you do the install, you can actually just go into GNOME software and install the NVIDIA drivers from there. However, there is currently a bug with that, in that it doesn't install the kernel headers, so it never builds the module. So you can restart all you want and you'll never get the driver. But that being said, if they can add in that dependency to the package, to the meta package or whatever they're using, then that would solve the problem there. But yeah, otherwise that'd be, that's a huge improvement, right? Because I think Ubuntu is one of the, and I guess Manjaro does as well. Like there's only a few that like will kind of surface the NVIDIA driver for you. And I think putting it in the software center is the right place. And so that would be available to you. Of course, they have the new GNOME 42, but nobody's mentioned this. Ubuntu actually patched in a triple buffering patch for their GNOME 42 that improves the responsiveness on like integrated Intel graphics substantially. And Fedora did not, or has not yet. I don't know if they will in like a later point release. As far as I know, they're not going to by release. But that patch makes a big difference. But there's potential issues with it as well. So it's kind of interesting that Ubuntu's putting that in their LTS. I guess they're that confident in the patch, but that is a difference between those two. They both have GNOME 42, but that triple buffering makes a difference. And of course, Fedora being very Flatpak centric, that's a big part of it too. Their newer versions of libraries is a big thing for Fedora 36 as well. Newer versions of Podman and all that. Podman's basically just Docker without root. They do a bunch of really cool stuff with their releases. It's just you gotta like Fedora, so you gotta like the way they do things. And I think they're trying to. I feel like they're trying to get a little closer to a regular person's distro than they used to be. And we'll see how that pans out. But top-notch GNOME implementation, in my opinion. Like really good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, their desktop team definitely does a great job. Not only on the workstation GNOME release, but also their spins. Yeah, they really top-notch stuff. Very
and
clean.
Wayland support out of the box with NVIDIA. That's the other thing. I think Ubuntu also has that, but that's kind of a nice thing to see, like going forward.
That definitely seems to be an issue that they're pushing in this release cycle. They really want to put Wayland out there, and I think it's a great idea. I feel like we can keep dancing back and forth. I think NVIDIA was sort of the last big hurdle, and what is it? If you have 510 or newer, it works fine, something like that.
Driver 510.
Yeah.
Newer. Yeah.
And so that's sort of gotten us past that, and it's just time, I think. And you can fall back. The X session will still be there if you need it, but until they promote Wayland and have it be the default, they're never going to get the kind of like real sort of feedback to figure out, okay, what are really the last mile things at this point? Like, what is keeping us from actually using Wayland after over a decade of development? We just have to move forward. And sometimes it's not as easy as we'd like it to be, and there's always going to be some problems along the way. But that's how we make progress. Hey, Wendy, you joined. Someone to call on you.
Long time no see.
Yeah, I know. How are you?
Good. Doing pretty dang good.
Are you still on Manjaro?
For the most part, I am. I've recently started playing with Fedora a little more, and I blame all of the awesome OpenSUSE Manjaro or Fedora people I've been hanging out with lately.
Oh, okay.
So my this thing. This is my Surface Pro 6.
Okay.
And it was running Manjaro, and now it's running Fedora 35. And I'm actually speaking to you guys from Fedora, though I still have my Manjaro partition.
Gotcha.
Because we still need it for VR gaming. My kid's got a VR headset.
Got
And the only way I can get the drivers to make that work currently is on an Arch-based distro.
Got it.
So we still have Manjaro around for that.
Got it. Now, are you able to run Manjaro the regular release, or do you have to run the like testing release or something to get the
regular release? Yep.
Okay. Because I know sometimes.
Yeah, I did have to pull the drivers from the AUR though.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yep.
So, are you interested in all? Well, let me actually ask you this: since you were a Fedora user a Manjaro user for so long, what is it about Fedora that you find, I guess, compelling that you'd be wanting to make a change?
I actually started out on Fedora. My first distro when I came to Linux was Carora.
Oh, okay.
And when it died, that kind of sent me looking for something else. And then I was on OpenSUSE for a little bit, but Manjaro making it so easy to get OpenCL going on Darktable is what made me do the jump to Manjaro in the first place. So I'd been there for about 3-ish years. I was on Manjaro, and now Fedora and GitHub has the same type of easy OpenCL driver that I could get from Manjaro.
Gotcha. So that issue, that blocker that you had isn't there anymore. And so. Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. Well, that's really cool. And so do you think you'll have any interest in doing the testing out the beta at all, or just no time, or?
I don't know if I could use the other drive I have in my system that Manjaro's on right now, then I would throw it on for testing. but pretty much all of my daily use computers I need for actual functioning. My Surface Pro 6 I take to co-op with me. It's what I was showing the kids coding our robot in Python on Thursday.
Gotcha.
So all of them need to work and can't really deal with beta bugs.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the tricky part, no doubt. So, well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that Fedora is one of those things I always look at and I go, if I was running a business and I needed workstations in an office, like I'm almost certain that I would probably be using something like Fedora.
Fedora is a great one. And they're actually working on getting more of the codecs, the media codecs directly built in. So you don't need RPM Fusion as much to get some of those things. And because I've been hanging out with the awesome people in OpenSUSE and Fedora, they're working on trying to get the drivers for VR headset into Fedora, whether that goes directly into the Fedora packages or RPM Fusion. We're not quite sure yet, but help put a bug in the ear of some of the people packaging that stuff so that we can have VR on Fedora too.
What is the tie-in between Fedora and OpenSUSE? Or is this just those people happen to like
it's just some of the same people
Okay.
are in the same circles.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they're working on both distributions.
Got it. That's interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. All right. Anyone else have anything to add to the beta discussion? Going once, going twice. All right. Another thing that came up, and this we touched on it last week, but we didn't actually go into talking about it, at least not into the depth that I think we might want to, is Ventoy coming up with this idea of a subscription. And outside of the idea of being this for this one particular thing, we've talked about paying for open source, and is open source, the idea of free software versus Libre software. And I'm not going to ask anyone, you can volunteer this if you want, but I mean, I personally donate to several different projects, and it's not, thousands of dollars, but it's what I can afford. And I try to give back, both by, financial support, and if I can, do any kind of testing or whatever I can do to sort of give back to certain projects, I do that. But the idea of just paying or having a subscription service, is that something that is, do you think helpful, harmful? Is it something that you think you would actually go for?
Well, what would Ventoy be a subscription service? I mean, from what I understand, it is just converts a USB, and then you're able to drop any ISOs without doing a launch, a USB installer.
So these are some of the benefits: exclusive official website forum, experience the new version first, customized documentation, professional technical support, specific ISO support, question and response, and you get to look at the Ventoy roadmap. So you can provide feedback and comments and suggestions. $19 a year.
Right. And I think that's what really what it comes down to, is it's $19 a year. If you're someone that is using Ventoy on a regular basis, and you want to see the project succeed and have stability, right? I don't think they're going to make, tens of thousands of dollars off of a subscription service. At least I don't have a sense that I think that they would make that kind of money, but at least if it paid for, servers, for like some of the fixed costs that maybe that developer has to bear themselves. And maybe this is only 5, 10, 15% of their user base that's actually interested in doing this. I think it's smart to at least offer it. There's nothing precluding you from using the let's say the generally available or the community version. Like there's nothing stopping you from using that, and that'll continue to be, I'm sure as they, release a new release, then the current one that is the, subscriber only gets bumped down, and then the subscribers get the newest release first. I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing, because again, the solvency of a project is really, I worry about that a lot of times. Like I think if I am doing something mission critical on this piece of software, or it's a part of my, my setup for whatever it is that I'm doing, especially on a professional level, I'd like to know that there's some sort of support there. There's some sort of reason for the developer to do the work. There's some sort of incentive. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see it as a bad thing, but I'm sure that there are people out there that see this as like the worst thing in the world. So I just wanted to see what folks thought. Well, here's another one, and this is just happenstance. I'm not naming them because they're a sponsor of DLN, but Bitwarden. So Bitwarden's professional license is $10 a year. $10. I mean, honestly, it's silly. It's less than $1 a month. I mean, for those math challenged, but honestly, it's so inexpensive that I pay it gladly every year, but I think, they should be charging, $49 a year, or, I mean, it should be more than that, I think, because I think that, but apparently they have some pretty good, contracts with enterprises, or they're making money some other way than just, the home or the end user. But not only am I happy that they have a professional version, but I want them to charge more, because I want the Bitwarden to always be there. I've got all my stuff in there. I love it. I use it literally all day, every day, and on all of my devices. I mean, it is a trusted companion. And if I didn't have it, my life would be it would be awful, to remember all the passwords and do all this stuff. So, I don't think that open source projects offering a subscription, a different tier, with other benefits isn't a bad thing. But again, that's one man's opinion.
I mean, if you look at it, you got an option. They're not going to cut away the free version, the version that that we're using now. They're just giving somebody, if they want to support the project, then they can, and they give you a few extra benefits. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, especially if it's a service that you're going to use anyway. And like you said, like with Bitwarden, you want it to stay around because it's something that you use, it's something that benefits you, and everything costs money. Just because it's free and open source doesn't mean it's free on their end. So yes, I agree. It's good for them to get a little extra money on the side, to help it would benefit the project, because they may be able to, they'll have more money, which means they'll have more resources, which means they can do more features or do something, something that could benefit everybody in the whole, because they have more time, and not necessarily time, but more resources available to them, maybe more staffing, more people, whatever, to be able to, make everything quote unquote better, so to speak. Or,
Sure.
They might even be able to get things out quicker. Newer versions become out quicker because they have the financing to be able to get people to, to spend more time on it than just, volunteers or somebody that from the communities that are, working on it. They can actually get people to work on it directly because they can maybe be able to pay them something to help out, that type scenario.
Yeah. No doubt.
Let's also
And
understand that this cuts both ways, though. Like, there are times where open source projects will have a paid tier or subscription or something, and then in an effort to gain more and more profit and grow, they start to carve up their open source offering into further tiers. They'll take what used to be a community feature and put it behind a paywall, or take what used to be a lower paywall and put it behind a more expensive paywall. And those kind of things happen quite a lot.
Yeah, well,
And
I
that
can see
can
that
be
happening.
frustrating, and especially in the enterprise. I swear that happens every time I just trip over my shoe. It happens, but
Yeah,
it's
they
just,
get a taste
you know.
of they get a taste of that money and they want more. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, we look at it as like, well, this is an open source project and they have a way to make money to fund the project, but at what point is it no longer about the project and it becomes about making that money more than actually the project? So then the community suffers, or that another entity takes said project, Amazon, and repurposes it into their product to make money off of it without contributing back to the project.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it cuts both ways on the whole money thing.
Right. And the flip side of that are projects that are really hard to donate to. Darktable is one of those that even if you want to support them financially to keep it going, they don't take donations. You have to support them in other ways, which is kind of frustrating if it's an application you rely on and you want to make sure that they can keep going with funds, and that's not an option to do.
Yeah, and I've run into that myself, where it's just like I have to hunt down. First of all, I have to hunt down a way to even contact them, and then once you do that, it's like, is there some way for me to give you, some financial enough? And it's just like, no, we've never even thought about it. So, some people just, They just don't see that as something they want to deal with, and that's fine. Because it is, it is a different thing. Once you start taking money, you have to account for it, and potentially if there's enough of it, you have to pay taxes on it and all that sort of thing. So it does open up a different sort of set of responsibilities and things you have to deal with. So I get that.
Potential extra potential problems that you don't want to deal with too. Because like you said, you got to track the money, you got to potentially pay taxes on it. Then you have to there's more of a, what's the word I'm looking for here? When somebody donates to you, they expect, there's expectations of something coming out of that money.
Liability.
Yeah.
Not necessarily liability, but more like, did you actually do something with the money? You know what I mean? It's just like, be more productive. They expect,
Expectations.
Their expectations are higher with what's going to happen with that money than, if you don't accept money type thing. I can see where it's that can be a problem as far as saying certain developers and stuff like that don't want that extra headache.
The other thing too, Jason, if I may, because you absolutely make a good point, but another thing to consider is that if the organization is a nonprofit, a lot of times you need someone who has experience managing nonprofit organizations and has a deep understanding of their financial implications, reporting, accounting, and everything else that goes along with it. So it's, it'd be nice, like you said, Eric, if it was as simple as here's some money to help your project out. But in the end, I deal with a lot of nonprofits at work, and some of them say, if I start taking money from you, it's going to create other financial implications and overhead and accounting nightmares that I'm just not prepared to handle. So depending on the way that the company is structured, some organizations have more lax financial reporting than others in the nonprofit sector. And for-profit, though, Eris, you're right. It's like they give you money. It's an investment. They treat it as an investment, something they want back in exchange for it. To me, that kind of blurs the lines of the open source software movement.
Yeah, that's a fair point, no doubt. The complexities, and that's the problem. People don't know what they don't know, and they get themselves into trouble if you don't account for things. You run afoul of the IRS, and you'll have some big problems. It takes the fun out of it, right? So you think from a developer's standpoint, they've got an itch to scratch. They're trying to learn something new or fix a problem they have, or doing it for fun or whatever their motivation is. It's probably not financial, at least not when they're, maybe if they end up doing it as a career or something, but, just focused on this one project or this one thing. Most people, I don't think, start out that way. But especially if you become something that is foundational, like we've seen open source projects become sort of the foundations of so many other software stacks or commercial offerings will have some sort of open source component to it, or at least the operations of companies. A lot of the enterprise segment now has a lot of open source in their stack, and what they're doing in their internal processing and all of that sort of their own technology that they use to support their own business, let alone stuff that they're offering to a customer. So yeah, it's not as simple as just, I'm going to write some code and put it out there sometimes, so anyway.
Nothing's ever simple these days.
No.
Call me old school, but I like to buy something or give a once-off donation. I struggle with, all these subscriptions. How many things you need to be subscribed to, and how many payments you need to come out of your bank every year. I mean, it's just everything's a subscription.
Everything off it. I mean, even the old standby is, like a copy of, let's say, Microsoft Office. I mean, that's becoming
65.
Now it's, you're buying a subscription, or
they're thinking about doing that Windows in general. They're thinking about going to subscription-based version of Windows. There's been discussion about that. I'm like, that's not going to work, I don't think.
They were talking about that quite a long time ago, though.
Yeah, it's still in the some of the. I'm a member of all kinds of bajillion different types of groups and stuff, and there's still communications out there about Microsoft thinking about it, but I don't think they're ever going to do that, because there's too much going on in the enterprise realm for them to actually make, in my opinion, to make it. Just, they may try to figure it out, but I just don't think it's gonna. Companies will go for that, let alone end users, especially end users. But anywho, yeah. So I mean, I agree with you there, Colin. Though, yeah, there's way too many subscriptions. You try a free trial of something and you forget about it. Next thing you know, you're getting charged $100 a year because it automatically renews, and you didn't know that you assumed the free trial end, and then it would just cancel. But then why did they ask for the payment information?
Yeah, that's another thing, isn't it? I mean, it's like these and I'm all for trying to get Linux supported stuff up and running, but how many failures have we seen with Linux phones and all that, where people have put money in and it's gone nowhere, right? What do they call those things?
Kickstarters?
The Kickstarters and all that. Yeah. There's a lot of those going around today as well.
I don't invest in any of that stuff. I don't trust that. And if the final product comes out and I like it, then sure, I'll buy it or whatever.
That's right.
But I'm not going to throw money to something that it's a chance it may. Oh, you buy now, you get a gold membership or whatever. If it actually comes to fruition and stuff, I mean, come on.
Yeah,
we don't know that stuff.
Well,
the only Kickstarter I'm interested in is from an author, and he's already put out lots of books. Like, I already know the book's coming. He is a reliable.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Is that James Patterson?
No.
Oh, because he's doing a Kickstarter too.
No.
What does he need to do with the Kickstarter for?
Hey, Kickstarter's actually for a solvent business, like a Kickstarter, if there's a new product you're spinning up, or I actually just I was part of a Kickstarter for a new razor because I'm into like shaving and stuff, but like it's from like Wendy's saying, it was from someone that's a solvent company that has already sells products. And they had a new product that they wanted to spin up, and instead of incurring all of that costs out of their own, or going to a venture capitalist or borrowing the money from a bank, they say, well, let's do a Kickstarter campaign, a funding campaign, and it worked out great. And the trickiest part is, can they actually deliver on it? And that's where I think a lot of them fall. They don't realize how hard it's going to be to meet the the demands of
expectations. Demands. Yep.
And so they were very good at it. They got everything out on time, and it all worked the way it was supposed to. And like,
that's rare.
Well, it's not. I think it's not, because we hear about the bad ones. Right. We don't hear about all of the ones that are for $20,000 to get something out. It goes out, it works fine. Nobody has any problems whatsoever. And it's boring, right? You don't hear about those. You hear about the ones that are like, promise the moon and, fail spectacularly. Yeah. And they're the ones that of course are going to make the headlines. So
should start one to get like a $3,000 goal to build a bot to insult developers on Twitter.
Why would you want to insult people? That's not nice.
So, just while we're on the subject of Ventoy, I believe it has a GUI now, right? I haven't tried the GUI.
It does, yeah.
The GUI lets you install it and update it.
Yep. Oh, and there's actually more than that too, Eris, believe it or not. You can do plugins. There's other stuff too that you can do through, but it's a different GUI than
it's a different GUI, but it lets you work with the grub. You can customize grub that way too.
Yeah.
With a different GUI.
So the GUI helps you not mess up other parts of your system?
No. You're free to do whatever you want, including mess it up.
I tried to do it once and I wiped out a hard drive.
Oops.
That's why I like having separate systems for my separate versions of Linux. I run 2 laptops right now and a Raspberry Pi for Linux, and I got they're separate. I don't have to worry about partitions and.
I may be wrong, but I think Ventoy does check that it's not the main drive, so it's not SDA. It will not default to SDA for the dropdown, I think.
I've actually never tried Ventoy, so I couldn't say, because like I said,
it should warn on drive size.
Yeah, it really should. Although thumb drives have gotten pretty large, so.
Yeah,
but even like a warning would be handy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't prevent you, just to warn you, like, hey, this is a big disk. You sure this is the right one?
Yeah.
Right.
Etcher does that. I think Etcher has like limits to that, I think.
It also tracks you, but whatever.
Etcher forces you now to choose, because I've wiped out a couple of disks with very, very important stuff on, and Etcher forces you to choose the disk now. Nothing's on by default, which is a great thing, because you have to check out what the disk is that you're checking off. So that's good. But for me, I prefer just to turn all my external disks off before I start doing any writing to a USB, because I've been caught out twice doing that.
Yeah, you learn that lesson the hard way, and it's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Let me ask you this. So here's a slightly different way to think about this. So Wine, obviously Windows is not an emulator or whatever. So a lot of their support comes from Crossover Office. Do you see, and Nate also buys a license for OpenSUSE. So do you see like doing things like that, where maybe I don't even use Crossover Office, but I'll buy a copy of it to help support the team, because that funding goes into supporting the development of Wine and stuff like that. What about that sort of like a approach to it? Do you see? I don't know if that makes any difference or not.
Only if it's something I'm interested in possibly using, but
Okay.
If I'm not interested in using it, I probably wouldn't do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about actually? Just out of curiosity, does anyone actually use Crossover Office, or have they used it?
Actually, that's the first time I've heard of Crossover Office. Honestly,
It used to come with Deepin.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
if it still does.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to come by default with Deepin. I'm not sure if it's still in there.
No.
I used to use Crossover many years ago, but I haven't done so in 10 years.
Gotcha.
But at that time, it used to work out. But since then, LibreOffice has gotten so much better. It's sufficient for what I've been needing. But Crossover team, I mean, they're a great bunch of people. I mean,
yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
So there's a YouTuber and called Matthias Window, and he does woodwork, and he doesn't take donations, I think, still. But he says if you like his videos and you want to support the channel, he does sell the blueprints to make the wood project. So he says if you want to donate to me, just buy some of the projects online, and then that'll be enough for me to get the money that way. And that way he doesn't take a donation. He doesn't have to set up the nonprofit, and it's just like a sale for him.
Right. And I think that's the tie-in for merchandise too. That's why a lot of people, projects and stuff, if you've got a logo or whatever, you can slap on a coffee mug and sell that for $10 or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Because it's a tangible good. You get something for it. And that's the nice thing, is it's not just you're throwing money, you actually get something back for it. So
yeah, I have a collection of coffee cups. I've got right over here in the corner here. I've probably got 20 of them from different places, because I'd rather buy. I mean, like you said, you get something in return. Yes, they charge a crazy amount of money for a little, 8-ounce or 15-ounce, depending on what size it is, coffee cup, and you're spending like $20 or whatever for the 15-ounce. But
right,
hey.
But that's the point. It's not, you're not, obviously if you could find a cheaper coffee mug, I mean, that's not why you're buying it. You're buying it because you know that
backwards,
it's right. You're most of that money is going as a donation. So
anyway. Yeah, right. Because the cost of making one of these coffee cups or a t-shirt or whatever is so much less than what they're charging for it, obviously. So they're making the overheads less because they have a separate company that's actually doing it, dealing with the shipping, and they pay them X amount of money. So whatever, but they make enough money to where it's worth it, and it helps them. So I prefer to do it that way. Whether it's a beer glass, I can go get chilled from my beer, or coffee cup, because I drink. My last name's Starbucks. I mean, of course I drink coffee.
I should expect.
Try looking at the cost from down under.
No, thank you. I have a friend in the Mac community named Bruce that talks about that all the time. He's like,
it's crazy.
You got a nice Mac studio? Oh, well, that costs us double.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
is that just the shipping to you, or what?
And it's everything. The shipping. It's also the conversion rate as well. It's just crazy.
Yeah, from the Aussie dollar to like from whatever American dollar to Aussie dollar, and plus shipping, and then you got the not just shipping, but what do you call that? There you have to go through the customs and all that, all that crap that they have to deal with.
Yeah, and that's true of any kind of good. The shipping is outrageous from. I mean, heck, even the shipping between the U.S. and Canada is expensive.
Canada, yep.
It doesn't make
now
any
it's
sense.
Expensive. Yeah. It wasn't always that way.
No. But yeah, shipping's become quite a differentiator, and that's why you look at someone like Amazon, you wonder why, they're so popular, and it's I've had Prime for so long that shipping, when I have to pay $10 for shipping, I'm like, ooh, $10, like shipping. And then I realize it's because I'm so used to not paying for it, or at least not paying for it in the overtly as
Right,
part of the purchase.
you're paying for it, but you're paying for it in a monthly
Exactly.
fee called Prime.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds to me like we let the terrorists win.
Exactly. That's one terrorist I will support. Amazon. I
Yeah.
get my cat food and cat litter cheap. I'm
Oh, my
sorry,
goodness.
it's these little turds.
Well,
See, I'm in town enough. I place my order online and then go pick it up at the store.
that's
I'm
actually really
lazy.
nice. I like how some businesses do that. Yeah, that sort of
Mhm.
fulfillment. Best Buy's
Yeah,
good
you can
for
do that from like Walmart, here's Publix, that's the
Mhm.
grocery store. But before during COVID, when COVID was in full swing and stuff, we got spoiled, so we started doing like Instacart for groceries. I have since stopped that and started going to stores because I actually want to get out of the house, being cooped up here all the time for work from home, yada 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 yada. But yeah, it's a good feature to have. You can go, like you said, order it and pick it up.
So when I bought my my PlayStation 5, I bought it within the 30 seconds that it was available, and specifically bought it from Best Buy. But when I bought it from them, it required you to do store pickup because that's a way to prevent the botters from scamming a bunch of people and all that. Because
I hate those guys.
Are you going to really show up and be like, yeah, I got 8 PS5s? Yeah, they're not going to give them to you. So
nope.
So you had to have a Best Buy nearby and stuff, and that you could pick it up from. And I think that was such a great way to do things for that, because I mean, obviously, Amazon and others that like are online only don't really have that infrastructure, so can't have that option. But that made me feel good. Also meant that I went and picked up the PS5, and the FedEx guy didn't say, "Wow, this looks like a familiar shape," and so
this one fell off the truck.
They didn't just like throw it somewhere. I hate FedEx. Don't get me started with those guys. I had my work
he
laptop
threw it into
delivered.
his bag on the way home.
Yeah, I had my work laptop delivered by FedEx, and it was pouring. We were having storms. Instead of putting it up on a covered porch, they just stuck it by the garage. I mean, I had
We've had way better luck with FedEx than UPS. UPS is the bad one around here.
Around here, the best is obviously Amazon. Those guys are really great. UPS is really good around here because I've got the same UPS driver for like the last 20 years. So he leaves our stuff. If it even says signature, we tell him to sign for it and leave it for us. Because whatever, we don't have that type of relationship. But FedEx, no, I've gotten packages delivered to my house that belong down the road. That's how bad they are.
I get that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Which never makes sense to me because the address isn't even remotely correct, and you're just like, how did they do that?
I don't know how to do that. The last one, luckily, it was the house, because we're in a little U-shaped community of 30 units of townhouses, and like right behind us here is a regular house that somebody owns, and it was I think the person was just lazy and didn't feel like going back one corner down and around, doing a U-turn and coming back because they accidentally passed a driveway or whatever. So he left it on top of whatever I ordered, thinking that I would I did just bring it over because I Googled the address. And
there you go.
I'm like, well, I'm not just going to keep it. It's not mine. I'm not that type of person. So I walked, the 5 seconds it took to go drop it on their porch and ring the doorbell. And I'm just like, I know it was this person just didn't want to do U-turn. Go down the road a little bit and do U-turn.
I know we're meandering and like drifting off into
everywhere,
the weeds, but that's okay. That's what open mic night's about. I have a question for you guys. Have any of you ever fallen victim to porch pirates?
No.
Okay.
I have this nice little thing. My wife had a call on something a while back, but not too often.
Okay, I was just curious.
I think it's part of the joy of living like far out in the country of Idaho is we don't have all these neighbors to watch our porch or people constantly walking by. So it's not very likely that that's going to happen.
I used to tell my folks that because they live pretty far out. And I'm like, they would say something like, make sure to lock the door. I'm like, okay, look, we live really far out here. If somebody comes all the way out here to get something, I'm giving them something to go away with at least. Like
I
just
have
for coming out here.
So you deserve it.
Prize.
That's right.
I have a camera on my front door that alerts me whenever there's motion. So if somebody tries to steal my stuff, and I have a talk button, so if they try, I can yell at them.
Well, if it's something really expensive too, or tech that I'm excited about showing up, I'm usually like standing by the door waiting for them to get there, and there isn't a chance for somebody to type it.
Weapon in hand.
Yeah, and
Right.
then there was an option for I don't know about in other countries, but here in the States, at least in most areas where you have a major retailer, I think Walgreens, CVS, Kohl's, Jewel, they all have FedEx drop-offs where you can have that as your delivery point, and it will be delivered where it will be safe and you can pick it up.
Yeah, I've definitely done that. I've had, because we have a local FedEx Kinko's thing, and I've had them and a UPS store. So usually, if it's something really expensive, like I'll definitely tell them like leave it at the store and I'll pick it up. Because
So that's
yeah,
another
I mean I've
benefit
never had
of-
any issues, but I don't know. We got some new neighbors that are a little sketchy. So
Yeah, that's the benefit of working from home and having a a camera in your front door that alerts you when people come. Is that I hardly ever leave the house because except for like grocery shopping, that's about it. Because we do most of our 99.9% of our shopping is done on Amazon. Because it's mostly
that's useful if you're trying to
mostly
catch
for
them later. But if somebody like came to my door to steal my stuff, the last thing I'm doing is opening the door and saying, "Hey, let's stop that," because that's a good way to end up with a nice bit of lead in my gut, right?
That's why you have the blink camera. I have one of those cameras, and it has a talk feature. And then what you do is luckily I have never had to do this, but what I can just get when my brother has Glocks. So I just go, excuse me, that's mine, and then make the cock the Glock, and just like act like I'm loading it, and then they'll run.
Or say hello to Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson.
Yes.
Say hello to my little friend.
Running around, especially as summer comes. So the kids were outside when our robot showed up, when our Lego robot showed up. So it got brought directly into the house from there.
Yeah, I know.
Can I play?
I like
Come play.
convenient.
I'm actually like conquering the kids' robot. I'm taking it over, and I'm like, we need to get another
That
hub
sounds like
because
fun.
one needs to be only moms.
That sounds like fun. Okay. Is it run by Raspberry Pi? Does it have its own thing?
No, I don't have it with me. It's in the other room. But you can use Scratch or Python to write code for the robot, and then you've got your main hub. We've got 4 different motors: 2 large, 2 small, 2 color sensors, force sensor, and a distance sensor. So you can do all kinds of fun things. The kids earlier today made these. So they were grabber hands. They made grabber hands, and then we coded them
Nice.
in Python together.
I'm looking that up right now because that sounds like it sounds like fun to me.
It's the bomb. I love it.
Was it part of any MakerBot things that they have?
So this one is part of Lego Education, but they
I see.
have basically the same hub, the Mindstorm, that you can get. And it's got a little different features than the Spike Prime, which is the one that we have. But yeah, it's really cool.
So you got the Lego Education Spike Essential. Oh, I'm looking at
Spike
Essential Kit
Prime.
here.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I'll drop a link to
Yeah, I
it, the
see it.
one that we got.
Lego Education Brick Q Motion Prime Set.
Oh,
There's
let
so
me
many
double
of them. There's like Prime Set over here, Prime Set over there. They range in price from like 110 up to $400.
It was definitely expensive. It was not a cheap thing, but for us, like I used our school money for it, so that helped. So the Lego Education Prime set is the one that I picked up. Plus, I got the expansion kit.
Yeah, I'm buying one of these for my nephew when his birthday is in July. I'm getting one, and he's
I'm
super
jealous.
creative.
So love it.
I'm gonna talk with my brother, and we're gonna go in.
How's
On it.
how's the programming tool? Does it come with something like Scratch, or it has its own proprietary?
It comes with a proprietary application, and I'm not a huge fan of that application itself. So if you're coding in Scratch, you can't copy things. So you can't, if you've made a block, a specific block that you want to use in multiple programs, you have to duplicate that program, erase everything else to keep the little piece that you want. And then I tried coding Python in that, and I wasn't happy with that either, mainly because it doesn't have some of the functions that any basic coder has anymore, any professional level. So it doesn't autofill anything. So I have VS Code set up, which is really cool. And somebody has created a free extension for the
Yeah.
Spike Prime and Mindstorm hubs. So
Yeah.
right now I'm actually coding the robot in VS Code.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not a programmer, but my son's about 10 years old, so I'm trying to find something for him. A few years ago, we bought MakerBot, and I downloaded, I have a little Raspberry Pi, Scratch, and we kind of started making some fun stuff, but I don't know if he's really interested, but I want to try it again. So I'm just trying to think other options because I'm not a programmer.
If he's interested, this is a really great one because they come with all different things that you can do with it and examples of code to kind of help them along the way.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll check it out. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out and discuss with my brother for my nephew's birthday. You know, we try to get him everything educated. Last Christmas rather, we got him scientific kits, like, you know, building your own, you know, volcano and that kind of type of thing. Because we, like, you know, want to encourage education with them.
What you drinking there, Jason? What kind of beer?
That is a Stone Brewery. I don't know, it's going to come around backwards.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Fear the Movie Lions.
Fear the Movie Lions, yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's a double hazy IPA.
IPA, okay, cool.
Yep, I'm all about my IPA.
Sounds tasty.
So looks like he's ready to whack you.
So I know you guys probably didn't know this, but email is not dead. Thunderbird is if you've heard them talk about their development that they've been working on things, and there's actually new things coming up, and I've been hearing that it seems like for years. And every time I use Thunderbird, I'm like, yeah, it works well, but you know, time to modernize it. So they actually do have a release 102 coming up this summer, scheduled for the end of June, and actually has a bunch of new features in it, which I was surprised to see. I don't know. I mean, we all use email because we have to, I guess, to some extent. But is anyone? I use Firefox. I use Thunderbird and have used Thunderbird for years. I've been hoping that there would get to some of these fixes. So we've got a couple of things. I've got a brand new address book, native import-export feature, matrix support for their chat, because they've had chat built in for IRC, and now they're going to have matrix support with at least the first iteration of it. I don't know how like robust and complete it'll be, but it's kind of neat how it'll be, I guess, just built in. Message header redesign, UX UI tweaks to OpenPGP, maildir storage format support. So a lot of, I guess, sort of stuff they've been needing to put in for a while, but then also some updates to the UI. And they've got this Spaces toolbar, which I don't quite think I understand the purpose of it yet. But anyway, it's just good to see that they're still taking it seriously and putting some effort into it. Do we have any Firefox users? Or Firefox Thunderbird users? Yeah. Okay, so
I haven't used a email client in years.
Yeah, that's I get the sense that people would just use their smartphones or use Gmail or yeah.
I unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but for business reasons and work and stuff, I actually use the paid version of Office 365 because I have Windows machines galore that I use for work and whatnot, and so granted, I probably could use Thunderbird and all that stuff if I really wanted to, but it doesn't have the Teams integration and all that stuff that I need for work. So, with Office 365, it's like I'm on a Mac machine right now, so all that goes across my Macs and my Windows machines. All OneDrive is all synced with them all and everything. So I got everything I need across all my devices. As far as professional goes, Linux for me is more of a hobby / tinker thing. So I use Windows more than anything because of work.
Gotcha.
Working in the IT field.
Still on Eudora over here. I'm sure nobody knows that one.
Eudora.
Yeah. No, I've wanted to use a local desktop email thing because man, just the web is so heavy, man. Just even like the simplest thing like email, it's like, yeah, thanks for slowing down everything because I have to have my email open. Looking at you, Office 365. But yeah, I'd like to use a desktop email, but man, they're all pretty awful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I've
I'm
used
just-
Geary and Pop, and it's associated with my my Gmail account, and I it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't respond with on a Gmail, like there'll be response. You go to respond to it
the threading.
in Geary, and it responds to the last person that sent the last response off that email. That
yeah, it's
makes
kind of
sense.
how Outlook works. It's everything is just really. So one of the things I really like about the Gmail interface is they have the different tabs, the different categories that they have. So like, updates, promotions, etc. And like I really like that feature. And I don't know if they have like some kind of patent on it because no one's done that as far as I know. And it's like, man, like can you like plug into the Gmail API to like get that information? But
Yeah, that would be awesome to see in other places. I don't use a desktop mail client, but I do use Fairmail on my phone, and I can set up my own folders in order to do that. It would be nice if it was an option for them or another desktop application to have that built in, because it's really handy.
Now, at the same time, that would probably require the application to read my emails to figure out where to put it.
True.
But yeah,
very true.
That'd be less than ideal. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's just one of those like get off my lazy butt and just make up smart rules and stuff. But still, yeah.
It's so much to have to maintain that, though. It
really is.
It's not worth it.
I would like to find an email client that would let me just cull my subscriptions, like just sort of like, because I feel like I don't sign up for a lot of things, but it seems like every like project I try or whatever is just like, oh hey, here's more emails, and it's like, man, I'm glad they have the feature that filters it out in Gmail, because like I basically only check the updates tab because everything else is just garbage, and like, man, I'd like to not see that garbage, but
yeah. There's actually snooze is a big one I use a lot in Gmail.
That used to be an inbox feature. RIP inbox. That was the greatest.
Inbox was amazing. Yep.
That was I don't usually complain about Google killing stuff, but that hurt me.
Yeah, that was a good one.
They cut me deep when they killed that.
Yeah, snooze had a lot, or inbox had a lot of great stuff, but snooze definitely. Send later. There's a lot of stuff that is really convenient. But yeah, I always think I know I shouldn't be using this. I know better. I should probably, use something else, but you get so used to those features and when you don't have them. Yeah.
Yep. Can we also point out like how old email is, and yet it's still around? How many other messaging and communications platforms have come and gone in the past, and like emails just stood the test of time?
I know.
Yeah, my favorite is still
Pretty
AIM.
miraculous.
I still love AIM.
AIM?
Yeah.
I love that chat.
Hit me up on ICQ, guys.
Yeah, ICQ, AIM. Those are the things back. Obviously,
it's the little things like the sounds that it made, and it was just
ease of use, the way the chats flowed. I mean, everything was. Those two programs are, were great. Then you look at now Discord, they got all these bling features that 90% of people don't even use.
It's really heavy. Yeah.
So speaking of that, I know it's totally tangent again, but like how ubiquitous is Matrix these days? Because like I've never used Matrix ever.
Neither
right?
have I.
I always thought it was just like a slightly different IRC, and so I'm completely like ignorant to it. But I was kind of like looking at other things because, full disclosure, I'm really tired of capitalism, and so I'm trying to find things that are not linked into other companies' coffers. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so,
good luck with that.
comrades, I need your help. So is Matrix like actually like useful, or is it just kind of eh?
Yeah, actually, I think it's gotten much better. So it's had humble beginnings, and had a lot of growing pains, in my opinion. The clients were not particularly good for quite a while,
and the setup was a pain in the butt at first.
Yeah, and it's gotten much better.
Yeah.
So it's
Element makes it much better. I know with the PEP team we use Element, and it's been fine. It's been great.
Element the server or client?
Client. Element's the client.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's sort of the official.
Matrix.
It's the official Matrix client. There's a bunch of different ones. There's GTK clients. There's Qt clients. There's there's all different sort of. There's probably like a dozen or so notable ones. But Element.
Any of you guys know how the back end works? I'm curious, like on that.
I don't personally. No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay.
Are we still talking email here? These
No,
email.
no, this is we're on to Matrix.
Thing,
yeah. I brought up AIM, and then when we went down the little chat program rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, it's actually noticeable. It's notable because we're all sort of fallen into Telegram, which we know is maybe not the best thing to be using. And so what's a reasonable alternative to that? And IRC is not, I don't think, a reasonable alternative for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's just too hard to manage and deal with on your own.
But I think it keeps like these things keep evolving, it's like Mastodon and all. It's like, oh my God, how many times do I have to change over just to get in contact with people? It's like,
right.
Yeah. That's why I prefer forums. I mean, I prefer forums. Yes, it's not as quick as like, an instant message or anything like that, but it's just, you just make a message and leave it.
So Steve, you use Matrix with Pep, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that have like asynchronous stuff, or do you miss messages if you're not in there? Right? Like, so on like a Telegram or some kind of mobile thing, like you generally have like a track of the conversation, and if you are out of it, like the conversation's still there. But like an IRC, if you're not connected, you don't get anything that was between the times you were connected.
No, it'll bring it in. So the there'll be times when I'm not on because I don't use it on. I don't have Telegram on my phone. I don't have Element or any of that stuff because most of the time, if I'm using my phone, I'm at work and I don't want to get distracted. So I don't keep logged into all that stuff. So when I come home, I bring up Element, and any of the conversations that have been part of that group, I get to see.
So just like Telegram.
Yeah, it starts you at the bottom, and then you can click an arrow to take you to the last read, and then you can read through
the one to go to the one that came in after you left.
Correct. It keeps track of where you were in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So how far you've read into the conversation. And then when you go into a room, you start at the bottom, but then it shows a little arrow at the top that says you can, it'll jump you up to.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like Telegram's got that arrow at the bottom, so I can just hit the.
Yeah, that was my main concern, is that like if it was like IRC, and that if you don't have like a bot or something hanging out in there, some kind of presence thing, then you'd lose it. But
that's what kills. That's why I don't like IRC, and I know you can set up ways to do it, but it's just it's a lot of effort that I don't feel like taking.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather use something that's already set up, kind of like all the ones that we've talked about in Discord.
Well,
I mean, I use Discord a lot because I'm in so many, like I said, I'm in so many different groups, Mac groups.
Yeah, and that's
groups,
always the
Linux
struggle,
groups.
is to get the people you want to talk to on the platforms, and oftentimes you kind of just have to go where the people are, because yeah.
But do you guys use Discord like my son uses it?
No.
So we have the client. So I'll come up. So usually he's sitting here.
He's
at
got the web
desk.
version
I
and the
boot him.
client. Yep.
I booted him out of Command Central here, and he'll have his HP Omen laptop. He'll have Discord running on that. Then he'll be on the Pop family computer, and he'll have the client running, and then 2 tabs open with Discord running in it, just so he can probably stay with each different conversations instead of going back and forth.
Yeah, he's in multiple channels.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because that is one of the things about Discord, is that, I mean, sure, it has a little thingamajiggy on the sidebar where you can see, messages pop up and stuff like that. And you can get I turn off the desktop messages because
just use
it's
Alt
annoying
K
as
and
all
switch.
get out, getting all these little ding, 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 ding things coming across your screen.
Yeah. Well, that's why I muted the DLN network.
I mute all sounds in Discord. I even in Windows, like I'm not a sound guy. I don't like all this excuse my language, darn notifications. I turn all that stuff off. I was like, listen, if I want to go find it, I'll just leave my little badge number there, so that I miss like 10 messages and I'll go look at them when I got time. I don't need a bing, 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 or such and such has joined the channel or whatever. But with Discord, I mean, it's kind of like Telegram with me, because I'm in so many different Linux things in Telegram that it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on. And same with Discord. I mean, because I've got the Linux groups, I've got the Mac groups, I've got the gaming groups like for streamers and stuff. I've got the Windows, BSOD, whatever you name it. I've got a group for it, because it's technological. I got a group for it because nerd.
So looping back to Thunderbird, Like you said, you said they had Matrix chat built into it now, and that's that kind of what is made me think about it. Is
I think Matrix really will become more renowned and mainstream. Yeah, I think there will be. It has really gotten much better in terms of the client software itself, and in terms of being useful, but then also just adding new features, and it is continually being developed versus Matrix is a protocol, and then so the clients are really where the software development is changing, and the protocol is being updated to add new features and things like that as well. But I do think it's finally getting to a point where people can take it seriously and not be like Steve's saying, where it's Mastodon and they changed another thing and federated here, and it does get to be a real hassle, and the people aren't there, like you're saying. I mean, what's the point of going through setting all this up and getting on a different platform and then there's nobody there,
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And honestly, personally, I don't really log into Telegram all that much. I'll log in here, I'll log into it maybe a couple times a week to see what's going on, that type of thing. It's pretty much the only groups I really, really, truly follow and pay attention to are the Destination Linux groups. And then, of course, back in the day when I was Big Daddy Linux, but now we're all under the same umbrella.
Right.
That's pretty much it. Like the Linux for Everyone and all the other ones, I have them there, but I don't really interact too much in that group.
Well, like for me right now, I've got Discord running, I've got Telegram running, I've got Element running, and that's I kind of have to, because everybody's spread out over these different platforms.
Is WhatsApp really a truly end-to-end encrypted service compared to Telegram and Signal?
They claim that, but there's no way to say because it's not open source.
Yeah, you can't know for sure.
Yeah, I've never even logged into WhatsApp, so I couldn't even tell you.
Especially since it's owned by Facebook.
Yeah, is it a Meta thing? You mean Meta, right?
Well,
no,
no, he means Facebook.
Facebook.
How about Signal?
Well, I mean,
I use Signal. That's encrypted.
Signal is open source and it is end-to-end encrypted.
But
I've never even heard of these things because I'm not.
Telegram's not end-to-end encrypted, I guess, right?
The server is not open source, and so they keep your messages. You can log into different ways and see your messages. So it's not end-to-end encryption. Right. Even private messages, unless you go on two phones with secret chat, like specifically the secret chat option, is not end-to-end encrypted either.
Yeah.
I just stick with Discord most cases, honestly. It's just everything's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Discord, I don't know what it is about Discord that keeps it's clunky to me to try to follow conversations. And
it is the worst.
It is clunky.
It used to be great and it is terrible now.
They feel like it feels like they're just trying everything. There's stuff more and more features into it.
I hate to see it, but
just stopped using it. It's just the worst now.
Yeah.
Teams is actually really good. I hate to say it.
Teams is pretty good.
Teams is great. I don't use it on a personal level. I only use it for work, but it works great for because we used to use when I worked for the bank before my contract ended, we used Skype. That was horrendous. I'm sorry, Skype is the worst program on the planet. Yeah. And then they're actually moving to Teams. They might actually be there by now. I have no idea, but it was supposed to be done towards the end of this year. They were trying to get everything integrated to Teams. And because it is so much more of more robust of a program than Skype, it just works. Unfortunately, it doesn't work in all if you don't have the client like Mac, like the M1 Max, which I'm on right now. I can't use Teams. They don't have a client for it yet, so you have to use the web version, and you have to either get Edge or use Chrome. Otherwise, you don't get all the features.
Right. Yeah, I've run into that.
Skype was good back in its day. Skype was good back in its day.
Back in the day, when it was just for individuals, it was fine. But when it became like originally it was called, I think, Links for Business or some junk like that, and then they changed it to Skype for Business.
Aren't they phasing out Skype?
Yes, they're phasing out Skype and they're switching to Teams. If you looked at Windows 11, for example, Teams is now integrated. They don't put Skype on there anymore. Teams.
Yeah, I heard they're gonna have Teams on consumer laptops too, as
Yep.
typical Microsoft fashion.
It's no longer
You're gonna
a
use what I give you.
yeah, it's no longer a professional only.
Yeah.
Teams initially was only for enterprise. That's the word I'm looking for. Enterprise. Pretty much you could have to log in with either a student account or a business account to be able to use all the features and stuff in Teams. Now they've changed it where you can actually log in with your Microsoft account.
Yeah, Teams is great for work environment. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, where
that's the
I
only thing
work,
I'm ever going to use it for is work environment. I don't care about unless they bring back AIM. I'm not using or IRC more.
yeah, where I work.
Bring back AIM.
Oh God, I would love it. That's the best chat program on the planet. Oh gosh, don't give me. Of course, back in the day, it was pretty much the only chat program on the planet. When AIM was, AOL was around, it was the first of its kind, basically. That was that good.
Anyway, I wanted to say I've been using Thunderbird for many years, and I quite like Thunderbird anyway. I did want to say that I found an add-on or an extension, a theme called Montreal Full Dark, and that makes the interface really dark but really nice, and I really enjoy using that theme. So if anyone wants to try anything on Thunderbird, try Montreal Full Dark.
Interesting. Yeah, I use the same plugin I use on Firefox to do dark mode for web pages called Dark Reader. You can install that in Thunderbird as well, and so it makes your emails dark.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I used when I was using Thunderbird back in the day, and Firefox and Chrome.
Yeah.
All of it uses the Dark Reader.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to use Thunderbird many years ago, but since I moved to GNOME about 5-6 years ago, it's all been evolution, and it works seamlessly with various like Outlook, or I have my other own domain emails, so they all work seamlessly. GNOME for me has really changed the way I look Linux. I mean, I've been on and off, been using Linux primarily since 2004, but it started off with Fedora. A buddy of mine kind of introduced me to it, but I could see how it's transitioned. Thunderbird, Firefox, they were all great. Firefox is still great. Thunderbird's making constant progress, but GNOME, I kind of see they're trying to unify a lot of things, and really pleased with the direction of GNOME. I like GNOME for simplicity. So. And the evolution really tops it for me. So I really haven't had a need to look for any other email clients, to be honest.
Yeah, evolution's very good. It really is.
Yeah,
very complete. It has pretty much everything you'd want.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, if someone needs extensions because they want to do certain things, probably Thunderbird's the way to go. All you're looking for is reading and responding and attachments and basic email communications and all accounts in one place.
Well, I mean, I think back to the days of like Pop Mail before IMAP, and like how hard it was to deal with like which system has which client on it and where the emails are ending up because they're not stored on the server. And but IMAP has really, I know it's been around forever, but that really that changed the way that you use email.
Right. Yeah.
Because you can have multiple clients and it, everything's on the server. So
it's not stored locally like Pop. It's all server side.
And also I like to have one email client, and certainly with having a job all these years, I mean, they don't use open source, so it's all Microsoft Exchange services, and it kind of works. It used to work on and off. They changed some plugin or the backend server. Then you got the extension in Thunderbird breaks. Certainly, it's you got the 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward, and over the past few years, I think Microsoft changed their ways. I don't know. Maybe GNOME did a better job of integrating Exchange web services. I don't know, but it's seamless.
Yeah, I've actually never used Exchange on a Linux side system because, like I said, I only got into Linux as a tinkering thing, and then I did some research and met all these guys here. And then I went and I did the year-long Linux as my primary,
Yeah.
And I was running Mint, but there was I still run. I don't run Mint right now because, believe it or not, I've been having a lot of issues with Mint just in installation level, trying to get it installed on laptops and stuff. For some reason, it crashes during the installation. On 3 different laptops, 3 different download, whatever. Don't get me started on that. So I'm running Manjaro as my primary. I fell in love with Manjaro, one because I run them on 2 different systems. I run on a laptop and I run it on a Raspberry Pi. They have the the ARM version.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I love it.
Smooth experience.
What's that?
It's smooth experience on the Raspberry Pi.
Absolutely.
For the Manjaro,
like it's butter.
Yeah.
It's it's just something I got into the hobby. I'm a nerd, so tech guy. So that's why I got into Linux and yada yada yada. And as far as like email clients go, I only used for Linux Thunderbird, no doubt. That's what I used. I don't like web-based. I'm not a fan of the web-based like gmail.com and what is it now, live dot whatever Microsoft. I don't know, whatever it's called now for Microsoft.
Oh, that changes all the time.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that junk. That's why I like the email client. You just put in the freaking server information and it just updates all your emails. You don't have to worry about knowing what the URL is and this, that, and the other web-based crap.
Yeah.
But I fell in love, honestly. I fell in love with when I was working with the bank. I kind of fell in love with Office 365. Maybe because I troubleshoot it so darn much. I know so much about it now that I can tweak it and whatever else. Yeah, that's where I'm at now. Is I'm on Office 365. Obviously not on Linux, but I don't, like I said, it's just a tinker thing at this point because I spend way too much time on the. I have 2 machines over here behind me. You can see one of them, the big one there. That's the Windows 10 machine, and behind it is the Windows 11 machine, so that I can keep up with I'm on my M1 Mac right here, and then up here I have the classic Mac Pro, and then I have the back over there I have the Mac Pro laptop. So I've kind of fallen into the Mac ecosystem more than I have the Linux ecosystem.
Yeah. I was actually really surprised to see them take the direction of essentially making a beefed up Mac Mini for their Mac Studio.
The Mac Studio. There was a 2 Ultras. What is it? No, 2 Maxes to become an Ultra.
2 Maxes to make it. Yeah, and I just the idea that instead of having to have the screen included, but to be able to use your own peripherals and stuff like that, it's such a different company now than when it was just a few years ago in terms of like, and hopefully they keep doing that with hardware, make it more pragmatic. Like that's that system makes sense. People love to me. That. Yeah. Not yet another giant iMac, or something like that. So
the thing that kind of ticked me off about the Mac Mini, which is what I'm using, the M1 Mac Mini, is that it can only support 2 monitors, and Apple, they can probably throw in an update and change all that crap. But currently, based off of the way the integrated GPU on the M1 chip translates the information, you can't have more than 2 monitors.
Adam was saying something about that where he was something about high DPI or something, and it was flickering on an M1.
Oh yeah, so when I plugged in an external display to the M1 MacBook Pro,
MacBook,
it was just like stuttery. It was very like I don't know, like it's kind of almost like it wasn't syncing properly, but it was just like frame rate drops, and like even simple things like bringing up mission control and things like that were just like really laggy and awful.
Yeah.
I think
not
we forget
very Apple, I guess.
We kind of forget how early we are into the new Apple silicon, right? I mean, they just haven't quite accounted for all of the different,
nuances.
I guess nuance, different use cases. I mean, and if maybe they have, maybe they said, hey, okay, maybe an external monitor is not going to be the best experience right now.
That's what I liked about the Studio, is that I don't like the price, mind you, but the Studio, the thing that I was like, finally, because with the M1 Max, like I was saying, the 2 monitor thing, with this one you can have up to 8 or some junk like that, some crazy amount of number. You can have, me, I like to have 3 to 4 monitors on my systems. It's just I like the flow.
3 to 4.
Yeah, like this. I mean, I have 5 monitors right here. Then I have 3 right here.
Who needs tabs when you have monitors?
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, of course, granted, this is 2 systems here. I have 2 monitors on because I'm only gonna have 2 on the Mac Mini.
I do have 2.
And then I have one on my classic Mac Pro. That I have. This is gonna be these 2 here are gonna be my work system. 2 for the Win 10 machine and 1 for the Win 11. But yeah, I'm a nerd. Can't help it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I have a second small monitor that I use even with my laptop here. It's just small enough that it fits on this little table that I'm at, and it's only 1440. You know, it's not a huge screen. It's a 12-inch screen. Yeah, but it's good enough to throw a second window. Like right now, I've got OBS on there and chat and stuff on there, so that I can have Zoom on the main screen. And you get used to having that extra real estate and.
Oh yeah.
You know, so my mother-in-law is not a technical person, not she's a barely adequate, computer user, but she was doing some sort of data entry for a company that she volunteers for or organization she volunteers for. And at the office, she had dual monitors. And so she's like, can I have dual monitors at home? And I was like, yeah, of course you can. So I bought her for her birthday an external 17-inch monitor that she has with her laptop. And so now she feels like she's all set up, like she's high tech. She's like, I've got 2 monitors. And like my father-in-law sits down.
Great.
My father-in-law sits down. He's like, what the heck's going on? I don't even know what screen I'm looking at. And like, so
That's
anyway,
awesome.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah, well, people used to call my computer. I mean, if you guys remember my thumbnail here, I probably just go to the thumbnail here. Stop video. It doesn't have it on this machine. Darn it. Never mind. I had the 6 screens. I had them all stacked up and everything. But I got a sit-stand desk now here, so I only have 4 screens set up on the arm that I set there. Then I set up another one for when I got my work laptop. But I can't stand not having multiple monitors. It's just
you get used to it. I mean, it's how you use a computer. You think back, one of the reasons when they switched from classic Mac to OS 10, they took away that spatial thing, because old Macs, you opened a window and it always opened here, that sort of thing, or every folder was a new window. And my wife that's how she used the computer. And when they moved away from that, she was like, I can't do this. Like this isn't Mac anymore, Yep. And
they opened up the workspaces. I think is what they changed it to, and then so you can have I think I have 5 desktops right now. Then you can switch them with the shortcut keys.
Yeah. Well, I have to cut short the meandering conversation. We actually do have to pick. No. It's I'm glad we've had it, but we have to pick for next week. Next week's focus is a application night. So we need to pick an application. We've got a list of different ones. Eris suggested that we try GNOME Web as a flat pack. We've got Falcon as a flat pack. Veracrypt. And there are debs and RPMs and a generic installer. Drawio desktop. It looks like they have a bunch of different options. Bottles. And Vim and Vim Tutor. So that's our list.
What's Bottles? What's Bottles?
Bottles is
like a wine, isn't it? It's another wine.
It's an add-on for wine, isn't it?
I believe it's the way you can have different versions of wine with different applications.
Okay.
I think that's how that works.
Yeah, it's each application has its own dedicated environment.
Okay. Got it.
You can tweak and run things in different containers, if you will.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone has out of that list, if there's something that jumps out.
Well, Epiphany, the web browser, is pretty decent, but the thing is about the Flatpak. With the Flatpak, you can't really make the PWAs out of it. Only with the deb right now.
What's PWA, Steve?
Personal web applications.
Okay.
So you want a
progressive web applications.
Yeah, progressive. Where you want a YouTube app. It takes header bars and all that off. and
Okay.
just makes it like integrated into the system and that.
It creates a shortcut for you, so you
yeah.
can just open the website itself, not have to like type in the address and save.
I've been
the
using
link
it on
into your
Peppermint right now and testing it out, and it's got built-in ad blocker to it. So that's the cool part.
That's always nice.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to just let's just I guess use that as our option. Steve, I understand that maybe that for you, and maybe that's your feedback is that you can't run it that way. Unless someone has any strong opinions on this list. Yes.
So
no?
what we're deciding, Epiphany is it?
Yeah, GNOME Web, Epiphany. That's what whatever.
Oh,
you
GNOME
call
Web.
It.
Sorry, GNOME Web.
They call it GNOME.
Are they the same thing? Are they the same thing?
They're the same thing.
Oh.
They're the same thing.
Linux names.
I installed Fedora 36 just to try, and maybe I'm not searching it correctly, but GNOME Web isn't installed. I thought it came default in Fedora. Maybe not in Fedora.
It might not.
It comes with Firefox, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly has Firefox, but I thought in general GNOME Web was included in all GNOME desktops, but I guess Fedora decided to remove it. But it's an easy install. I've always wanted to try Epiphany, but maybe it's an opportunity to try it.
Yeah, GNOME Web was Epiphany until 2012.
It usually is never comes with a distro except for Elementary, and I'm not sure who else, but I know Elementary ships GNOME Web.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a very simple application. I mean, I always get drawn to simplicity, but certainly you need certain other tools to make it quite useful. So I guess where you draw the line varies for each individual.
I think that's the kind of feedback we'd want to have is just spend an hour or two. Like, can you actually sit there and browse and do the things you would normally do in a web browser, or are there features that are just not there that you would need, or does it do something in a way that you actually appreciate versus other browsers? So I think that's a good suggestion. I think let's go with that.
I have a question on that.
Okay.
So when I go to their website, it says there's a download a tech preview. Are we talking about some preview, or are we talking about the what's currently available?
Whatever you want to use. If you are so inclined to go and get a preview and check that out, then so be it. That's fine.
I think I think something to consider with GNOME Web is maybe you could use it as your everyday web browser. Maybe not. Maybe you can use it for some things. Is there some things that it could do better than your current browser? Could this be part of your workflow, or is it just not good at all? Or what does it do better than the other browser that you normally use?
Yeah,
would be a way I would approach it.
Right. Can you use it? Does it have is there just a roadblock that you can't use it? Does it do anything differently that you appreciate? And yeah, just a quick sort of, either like what I will do personally is I'm going to install it and then try to use it, just as I'm doing my normal day-to-day sort of work. And like, I'm going to see, can I actually go in and work on websites and do different things? Like, does it have developer tools and inspectors? It might not have anything like that. It might be just a very dumbed down. I honestly haven't used it in so long. I don't remember anything about it. So I'm just going to give it that at least like 1 hour or something to just sort of poke around at it and see what's there. And if I can use it, then I will. But if I can't, then at least know why I can't and be able to give some kind of feedback. So, and of course, this is all completely optional. You don't have to do that to participate, but that's what we're going to be doing next week. So,
okay, GNOME Web installed and default browser for a week.
If you can.
I'm using GNOME, so it's got web. So it's just called web now.
Correct.
Yeah. Right? Web.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so
if
it's already installed for me.
There you go.
Don't have to worry.
Yeah, I just installed it on Fedora too, and that's what it says when I go to pull it up in my application browser. Is just web.
Right. Yeah, and that's what GNOME's doing right now. And actually, for better or for worse, they're sort of dumbing down. They've just calling things what it is. So web, and they're taking away the legacy names, the projects had, and just renaming them all to like their task, whatever they do. So yeah, it'll be web. That's what it'll show up in your menu.
The flag says I was just gonna say something quick. The Flat Hub says Epiphany, gnome.org, gnome Epiphany. So,
Okay.
so even that's confusing.
Excellent. And since I'm on Arch, I'll probably just try using the one that's in the community repo. But I'm sure there's stuff in the AUR. Who knows? I'm going to play around and see what's there and what's available, and just try it that way. So, but with that, we have hit the 10 o'clock hour, at least on the East Coast.
So, so in other words, you got 2 hours to go, right? Is that what you're saying?
Not that I don't think I have it in me. Jason, you're welcome to carry on without me, but no, I think we're gonna call it here. I'm so happy that all of you were able to join this week and participate in this pretty much nothing of a conversation. It was fun. We just talked about whatever, we brought up a couple things, but this is fun. This is what it's about. We're supposed to just get together and have that space and that opportunity to just bring up whatever, and everybody participated. That was great. Yep. So often we have these shows where 4 people have talked the whole time and like no one else has talked. So it was good that everybody had a chance to chip in this week. So any other final thoughts, last words? We're not going to go around one by one, but if you have anything you'd like to bring up before we go, anything you want to pitch, any projects you're working on, anything you want to tell people about, now's a good time.
I'm just happy I start my new job on Monday.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
After a month of being off, and going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, I'm happy to go back to work.
Cocoa Puffs.
If you're up and around 8 a.m. U.S. Central, come and check me out on the Sunday Linux Coffee Clutch. We're going to talk about software shopping. We're going to talk about the old days of remember going to the big box store and physically looking at
Best Buy.
That's wild. The idea of buying boxed software.
Oh, the old days. Yeah. I remember the old days when buying box software meant the floppy drives.
You know what was great about box software? There was none of this idea of continuous development. It was there was a target, and they built towards that, and they had to QA it, and they had to get it all done before it went on that disk and out the door. And those days are so far behind us now. Yeah.
And now it's all about the download the update.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. You mean like buying a game and you can actually play it as opposed to buying a game and downloading about 500 gig and there goes all your hard drive with one game?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Are you talking about Call of Duty?
Yep. There is a lot of that now where it's just get the base out and then we'll just keep adding on to it, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So all right.
Yep.
Anyone else? Mark, you've got your lug tomorrow.
Yeah, the Atlanta Linux group we're meeting online and in person, and but again, it's every Sunday from 3 to 6 Eastern, and we try to help out folks with any problems they've got, and so that is ale.org. Yep, that's the website, and that's all.
Okay.
Where do you guys physically meet?
In Atlanta, near Marietta, there's a Schlotsky's on Windy Hill, and that's where we meet in person. But then we've had so much success meeting. We use Jitsi, but web meeting like this, it's been so successful. We wanted to continue that, and we have several folks that join every single week from California and other states, and we're keeping up both.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm over in the Conyers area, so not too far.
Okay.
Well, some of us that are haven't been able to get out too much have just we got to go to Schlotsky's and have a sandwich and bring our laptops. So
hey, food and Linux. There you go.
That's it.
That's right.
Rick, what time is your stream, Rick?
6 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Time.
Got it. Okay.
7 o'clock Central Time. And,
What about GMT? No, just kidding.
All these times.
Do you have anything planned, or is it just?
Not yet, because I usually wait till we finish here and find out what y'all are gonna do.
Okay. There you go.
I just tried. If it's not dead, I'll figure
Continuity.
out something else.
Yeah, got it. Okay, excellent. All right. Anyone else? Colin, you got anything coming up? You said you had a video coming out.
Yeah, I've got to upload it and stuff like that. So I'll probably get around to that today. I'll probably upload it when you're all sleeping.
Okay. Wendy, what have you been working on?
Difference.
Wendy, do you have any podcasts coming out or anything? What do you got?
There is a new Linux Out Loud every week.
There you
So
go.
if you enjoy listening to Matt, Nate, and I give each other a whole bunch of crap and talk Linux and other tech, it's a new show drops every Wednesday morning, US time. And then Hardware Addicts is every 2 weeks. Most of my time is working on robot related stuff right now. And I hope to be sharing those adventures with everybody, mainly to help my team get on board and be ready for next year's competition with Python, but might as well share what we're doing with everybody else too.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well,
It's great.
once again, thanks everybody for joining. We're going to go ahead and cut it there. We shall see you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Station.
And until then, I'm wishing you a wonderful week in Linux and out. Stay safe. Be well. We'll see you again soon. Good night.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
Thanks, Eric. Bye.
Bye, all.